But yeah, no, we're good.
Hey, how are you?
Man? Good to see
you as well.
Blazer.
We'll have you start in a few minutes. Whenever you're ready, we'll have you start.
Yeah, and don't quote me, but I tell you what, if you reach out today, Monday, make sure I'm CC on it. I'll let you know that we talked today and we'll
Just a heads up, this camera is it's on. It's
got
live.
you. Thank you.
But if you want to maybe talk about you have coming up, you want to talk about that? So we'll find some time during the lunch for me to do that. Maybe after people get food.
Hey, I just realized I talked to Linda, but I didn't talk to you. So when she and I were emailing, when it comes to lunch, I know we're not there yet, but I want to just get it out. So 20, 30-ish dietary restrictions that we've taken very seriously. We're going to keep those in this room, so like when you tell everybody where to go, basically we're putting 144 lunches in that room, because that's how many seats there are. And there'll be drinks and everything down there. And then the rest we're going to hear about all the dietary restrictions we're going to keep in this room, just so that they know exactly where to come. Pretty serious in this. So we're just going to keep that here. Clean up you guys get going, we'll clean up the break and then those boxes will go. The ones that have dietary restrictions for the most part, but she did order like 10 extra. So those will be labeled like that they're gluten-free, dairy-free, all that kind of stuff, but they won't have names on it. So, but yeah, the other, I mean, and she said like 180, 180.
Yeah, a little more than that now.
Well, hey, that's okay.
I think we're about there.
This is awesome, but you should be 210 lunches. So
We should be good.
I just wanted to let you know when you're telling everybody where to go, even the dietary restrictions, at least grab it from this side. They can go wherever they want.
Thank you.
Because, you know, nobody wants to wander around trying to find a food.
All right. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah. I'd like to introduce
energy. Let's do it again. Can everyone hear me okay? I love it. So I had notes. Do you want me to go off the notes or no?
Take your pick.
Sorry.
Well, first off, welcome Indivisible, Illinois. Let's make some noise for y'all. Yes. This is the way I need to start my morning off every morning, as I am 53 days into becoming the 51st mayor of the city of Urbana. We've had a lot of amazing and exciting things that have taken place. I got my first budget passed. I didn't argue with too many city council members. And the community is excited. So thank you all for the work that you are doing within our community, within our state, as we are fighting against some pretty, trying to stay PG, right? I'm trying to keep it clean, right? We're fighting against some pretty hardcore forces, at the federal level. So the work that you all are doing, obviously, it goes beyond words and saying the impact that you all have. So I appreciate being in the midst of you all. I want to give a special shout out to our very own Marcy, who has played a vital role. Marcy played a vital role in bringing you all to Urbana Champaign. So I have to say Urbana first now because obviously that's it. And Deb is here, so I get to do that anyway, right? So, but Marcy plays a vital role in not only, getting you all here, but she has played a significant role in the election of a lot of our elected officials here locally that we are all excited for and excited about. And I will say something about Marcy. She's not afraid to hold us accountable either when we are doing what we're supposed to do. But again, as you see, I am dressed down. I typically will wear a suit, right? Like most of the time. I'll get suited and booted. But I'm leaving here going directly to Jetty Rose Day, which is our community annual guest. Our annual community event that we are having. So I'm dressed for the sun. I'm hoping that I don't sweat too bad, but we're going to have a good time. But it's functions and organizations and things like this that, again, keeps me encouraged, keeps me wanting to stay in the fight. And I appreciate each and every one of you being a part of this fight. So on behalf of myself and the Champaign Mayor, Deb Finan, we welcome you to Urbana Champaign. And while you are here, be sure to navigate your way through the neighborhood, through the community downtown. If you just jump over Wright Street, you'll be in the amazing city of Urbana. There's a lot of fun things to do downtown. I would love to see you. Thank you all for being here. God bless. Marcy, you rock.
Hi, I'm Marcy Schaefer. I am on the Indivisible Illinois Exec Board, and I am from here, from Champaign. And I'm just letting you know that Indivisible Illinois is so happy to have you guys here. We're each gonna say something about what we do. I'm the phone bank lead. And actually, every Sunday, we have a phone bank that it's on Zoom, so anybody can join from anywhere. And it phone banks right now into the Illinois 12, 15, and 16 to let the people in that state, in that congressional district know that their member of Congress voted to cut Medicaid and what it means to them and what it means to their communities. And if you are interested in phone banking, I can send you the Mobilize link. The next one is tomorrow, 4 to 5:30 on Zoom, and then we have it every Sunday. And I'm going to hand it over to Jeanette.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, I'm Jeanette Quirk. I'm from Indivisible, West Suburban Chicago. Some of those people who are going woo right now are the ones that put the active in activists, and I think we can all say that that's what keeps a lot of us in this game, because if we weren't doing this, I don't know what I'd be doing. So this is it. And so I've also been on the Indivisible Illinois Executive Board for under 2 years, and my head is still spinning in many directions because they are just an amazing team, as you can see what they've done. So, and they are so fun to work with, and they all rock a lot. And I'm also on the Indivisible Chicago Alliance. group as well, where we come together and work with all those folks too. So the most exciting thing that has happened since the election has been seeing all these new groups starting, and we started a spreadsheet and it just exploded, and it continues to. So that's what keeps us going, and I just feel like we're making a difference. There's no doubt about it. So it's great to see everybody. And next is Linda Callis.
My name is Linda Callis, and I am on the executive board. I'm also with Indivisible DuPage. Let's hear some. And Street Brigade Illinois. There's Street Brigade Illinois people here. On the board, I'm kind of anybody knows this term, I'm kind of the back office person, so a lot of the administrative stuff and also outreach to groups. And let me tell you, when Jeanette was talking about how many groups there are, it is amazing how many new groups are showing up, which is absolutely fantastic, but also trying to keep track and make sure we're talking to each other is really important, and that's going to be part of what we're going to talk about today. And I do want to give one shout out. In the back of the room, there's 4 posters that are listing all of our groups. Hopefully we didn't miss any, but Doreen, who is sitting at the table over there, stand up, made these posters. God bless her. She did a great job. So this is a day to have fun, but also to engage and to make sure we have a plan so we can get the idiot out of office.
Wow, look at the crowd here. We got around 200 people from all parts of the state. My name is Patrick Watson. I'm also on the Indivisible Illinois Exec Board. Let's see where people are from all around the states. Is there anyone here from Chicago? All right, we've got Chicago in the house. Is there anyone here from the Northwest suburbs? Woohoo! Got the Northwest suburbs here. Anyone from the Rockford area? We've got some Rockford folks. Anyone from Joliet area? Got some Joliet folks here. Anyone from the Quad Cities? Got some Quad Cities people here. Anyone from Southern Illinois here? Got some Southern Illinois. How about Champaign? Other parts of Central Illinois. Right, looks like we've got folks here from all parts of the state. We're so happy to have you all here. I know that I'm fired up for today. I hope that you all are fired up and ready to go. So we've got a great program for you here today. We're gonna hear from some folks from Indivisible National. We're also gonna hear from some coalition partners who are going to tell you about some of the pressing issues of our time right now. We also are going to hear from some elected officials as well. We've got a member of Congress who will be here. We've also got a state senator who is here who will speak about just some of the things that are happening in DC as well as are happening in Springfield and how we can continue to make progressive change in our communities and how we can defy Trump and make sure that the rule of law is being followed in our state. So we're so happy to have you here today. So I'm Patrick Watson, and again, I'm on the executive board for Indivisible Illinois. I chair the voter outreach committee as well as the communications committee, co-chaired along with Marcy. There's a lot that we're doing on those committees. We're going to talk with you all at the end about how you can get involved with those committees. Marcy already spoke a little bit about some of the phone banking that we're doing, but we're also doing canvassing in various parts of the state. And that's very important that we canvass in some of these areas. There are parts of the state where we know that the members of Congress don't necessarily reflect our values. So we're going into those districts and we're talking with voters just about their elected officials' positions on the issues. We're not going in, we're not talking about candidates, we're not talking about parties, we're specifically just talking about the issues and their voting records. So we hope that you're able to join us for our neighborhood canvas program that we're going to be doing directly after this convening. You'll hear a lot more about that. You can sign up for it on our website, so you'll hear more details on that. So, without further ado, I would like to go through the agenda for you all. You will have a copy of the agenda. You all can see that we've heard from Deshaun. We're going to do the welcome, which we're doing now. We're going to hear from Katie as well as Aya just about Blue State Defiance here in Illinois. That'll be our next panel. We're going to follow that up with our coalition partner panel. You're going to hear from folks from the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, from the ACLU, as well as the Illinois Environmental Council. They're going to tell you about some of the pressing issues that are happening here in our states. Then we're going to do a regional breakout where you all are going to be able to plan for the next 2 years, 2025 and 2026, specifically in your region. Then we're going to have lunch. We'll have some guest speakers during that lunch. Then we're going to have our congressional member forum, where you're going to hear from U.S. Representative Robin Kelly. We're going to have a bit of networking. We're going to then have those regional reports. So everything that you spoke about during the breakout session, a few members are going to come up to the front and they're going to present that to the larger group about how we are going to be a defined state and how we're going to defy the authoritarian takeover. So I would like to introduce our first panel members now who are going to come up and they're going to tell you about Blue State Defiance. They represent Indivisible National. Katie, who is the Indivisible Associate Organizing Director, she's been in that role for a number of years. She leads our region in that role, so she is the boss of our regional organizer and others within this region. We've also got Aya, who has been a human rights advocate for a number of years. She's done great work on that, and she is the Indivisible Senior Policy Manager. So she's going to tell you about just the policy of Indivisible as a whole.
Hey everyone, so as Patrick said, my name is Katie Ware. I'm on the organizing team, so I work with all of our regional organizers. So your organizer is named Liz Hayes. Has anybody met Liz? Yeah, Liz. So unfortunately Liz couldn't be here today, but she sends her regards, so I'm going to do my very best to sub in. And we're going to talk about Blue State Defiance and all of the ways that we can use our power as Blue State residents to, you know, stick it to Trump. Thank you.
Hello, it's so nice to be here today. I've actually come to Chicago so many times, but I forgot that the rest of the state exists. This is such a treat. But it's so great to be with all of you. I've actually only been with Indivisible for about 10 months now, but it's felt like 3 years because I do policy work and my portfolio is democracy and voting rights, but everything feels like a democracy issue right now, as we all know. So I want to get a raise of hands. How many of you have already been doing Blue State Defiance work or are familiar with it? Come on. No, okay, after we explain it, you're going to all be raising your hands. You've definitely been doing Blue State Defiance work. So I think contrary to what we believe, we're constantly focusing on, you know, the federal process, even when it comes to elections. We're always thinking about voting for the president, voting for congressional members, but we forget about the state. Now, what is Blue State Defiance work? It's pretty much just taking all of your energy and focusing on your leaders within your state. And why is it so important right now? Because as we all know, our federal institutions are actively being weaponized to pretty much progress Trump's authoritarian agenda, which we've been seeing on every level of the federal government, within Congress and everything else. Congress in particular is gridlocked and complicit to Trump's agenda, and we simply cannot wait for some kind of federal fix or rely on it, at least not alone. Congress is good for some things, but your state is actually a lot better on a lot of different things. So we need to be building from the ground up, in and out of Trump era, right? This should be happening under every president, because no matter what happens on the federal level, your state can actually protect you from the law. Blue states are our firewall, and they have a lot more power than we think they do. And Illinois is a prime example, and we're going to get to some of your leaders that are actually doing incredible work, in part due to your guys' pressure, but also because you have good, ambitious leaders. So when we talk about state leaders, we're talking about governors, attorney generals, the state legislature, the mayor, the city council members, your counties, so many different layers of our government on a state level that are here to protect you and to serve you, probably a lot more than Congress will, because as we know, Congress is run by billionaires. Correct me if I'm wrong. Here's the thing is, blue states can slow block or refuse to implement any kind of federal overreach, and even lead by examples like Illinois leaders. And they can form compacts and alliances like we've also seen happen when Trump was elected the second time. And it's not just defiance in a sense, it's innovation where the federal government continues to fail us, again, in and outside of a Trump era or a Trump presidency. And right now, obviously, the stakes are existential. We're in a crisis. We've completely crossed every red line. And unfortunately, Trump is merely a symptom of the issue, and that's what we're trying to fix, right? Our work isn't going to end when he leaves office, and our work should not begin just simply because he's in office. There's a lot of things wrong with our system nationally and on every state level that we need to be focusing on. So I want to talk about blue state. Well, some examples of blue state defiance. For example, when Trump was first elected, right after the election, both Illinois and Colorado governors, Polis and J.B. Pritzker, formed a coalition called Governors Safeguarding Democracy to resist potential federal policies. And I don't know that so much has happened between the two since then, but I know it was at least just to show that we will not just stand idly by while you continue to screw with our government. In Maine, the governor, in the face of Trump withholding school funding as punishment for Maine schools, respecting trans students refused to back down, prominently telling Trump that she'd see him in court. Which a lot of people have been doing. And then New York Attorney General is aggressively suing the Trump administration to protect New Yorkers from the administration's policies and illegal actions, which we've also seen grow increasingly over the last few weeks in particular. But let's go back to Illinois. You guys have a great governor. I petition that every governor in the US be like him. He's done so much pre and post Trump election. For one, he's blocked federal access to autism data. He was the first governor to issue an executive order protecting health privacy from federal abuse, which, yes, great. He's defended DEI in education. He publicly resisted federal threats to defund DEI programs and upheld inclusive education mandates, and got sued for it, and continued to do it anyways. On immigration, he has been incredible in the face of Trump's authoritarian immigration overreach. For example, everybody knows the story of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, yeah? And so he responded by announcing that when he was deported to El Salvador, he responded by announcing that Illinois' state pension funds would divest from El Salvador, essentially boycotting their government as part of this role in unlawful deportations. And he also ordered a review of Illinois state contracts for any businesses or any business to go to El Salvador companies. And despite the fact that he has been returned and saved because of this kind of pressure, because of our collective pressure, but also because of governors like him who stood in the face of the government. And he's come home. Unfortunately, he's still being attacked by the government under the most bogus charges. But I think that this kind of pressure potentially saved his life. And he wouldn't be here today if it wasn't because of that. The governor also expanded sanctuary protections pre-Trump. In 2021, he passed the STATE Act, which expanded sanctuary protections across the state. So he has been incredible, I'm sure you guys know that, but he's a prime example of what we want from our state elected officials on every single government, for them to take action, for them to protect their constituents, and no matter who's the sitting president or Congress, to say that, like, I'm going to prioritize the people and not big money. So the whole point is that when federal government becomes the threat, which we've seen for quite a long time, again, even before Trump, the state needs to become the shield. And Illinois has proven that they can do that. So now we just need to continue to organize, to expand, and to build statewide defiance network to continue to stand in the face of that. So I'm going to pass it to Katie to talk a little bit about how you can all do that.
So now we're going to talk about some specific things that we can do. So we're going to give you some examples to get the wheels turning, and then we're going to do some planning as a group and in small groups. So some things that other states have been doing and options that you can consider are demanding a special legislative session on a key topic. So most of us have states that have a legislative calendar, legislative session that lasts sometimes for only a couple of months. And you can demand that actually you should do your jobs and come back. Sorry, I don't know much about the Illinois state legislature, but certain other states that shall not be named, you know, they work for 6 weeks and then they hang out for the rest of the year. You can also advocate for state-funded legal defense funds. You can support regional compacts to form a united front, like the governor's Safeguarding Democracy. And another key one is push for race to the top policies. So basically what we mean by this is make your state a good and desirable and safe and pleasant place to live that draws the contrast between blue states and places that are unfortunately having to live under the control of the Republican Party and the MAGA enthusiasts to really draw that distinction. And you can request protections for people traveling from those red states. So a lot of us in blue states have people coming from red states to seek things like abortion care or transgender health care, or immigrants looking for a safer place to live, and you can support protections for those people. And demanding that unlawful ICE arrests get investigated. They're doing a bunch of illegal and immoral crap, so we don't have to just let them do that. We can actually demand that they have some oversight. Okay, so I'm gonna ask the group, so as we stated, you guys have a pretty rad governor, right? So one important thing that we do is backing up. It's really important that we back up our elected officials when they're actually doing stuff that we like and make it clear that they're representing us and not just on their own little personal mission. So what are some ways that you can build on what Pritzker started and ways that you can have his back and cheer him on? Anyone have some ideas or anything that you've been doing already?
Well, he's just announced he's going for a 3rd term. We can canvass for him.
Canvassing for him, yes, absolutely. Yes. Volunteer power is so important for electeds, yeah.
Give a call and thank them.
Yeah, give him a call and thank him, absolutely, yeah, let's do one.
You can become a precinct committee person, and what Pritzker did last time is if counties had 80% of Democrats precincts filled, then he would give them that county money, Democratic county money.
Oh, interesting idea, so sorry, become a precinct committee person, okay, yeah, get on the local government. Yeah, in the back over here. Letters to the editor, yes, great one, make it public. And let's do one more. Were you raising your hand or were you, yeah, before? Okay. Fidgeter, that's totally fine. Yeah, those are some really great examples. Definitely want to make it public. Letters to the editor are a great example. Posting on social media to show your support. Volunteer power is super important, and I love actually getting involved with your local government. We should all be doing that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how to build a statewide campaign. This is the fun stuff. So when we talk about campaign planning, essentially we're talking about is a plan for all of you to take action together on a single shared vision to get something to accomplish a goal. So first what you want to do is identify what's at stake. So what are federal threats that are imminent or already happening that affect this, your state that leaders can act on? And what existing protections might need some reinforcements. Is there anything that's under threat from the Republicans in your legislature, for example? Second, you want to build a coalition. So this can mean getting others outside of Indivisible groups to help you, to team up with you. And those are usually organizations that share your same values and ensure that rural, suburban, and minority voices are heard and involved. And really, we want to talk a little bit more about this. We want to aim for a large percentage of Indivisible groups, all of you, participating in this campaign. And step 3, engaging your key targets in state and local government and who needs to do what. So as Aya said, that's the governor, the state legislature, the attorney general, city councils, county governments, for example. And then you can develop your action plan and your tools and your messaging, and then you advocate. And don't forget to track, celebrate your wins in order to keep momentum. All right, so in a few minutes, I'm going to break you guys up into groups. I've got some super fun little worksheets for you. And the goal here is to get you thinking like a campaign planner and to start on building a plan that you can all engage in Illinois over the next year or two, however long we're going to be doing this work. So it's going to guide you through some questions to think about. So number one, what issue are you trying to solve? So you can talk amongst your groups about what issues that you've noticed are coming up in your state or in your town. What's your overall goal on that issue? Who are your targets? And by that we mean who's got the power to influence that issue that you can advocate to. And who are your secondary targets? These might be people who have a lot of influence in your community or in the government that maybe aren't the actual decision makers themselves. Who are your allies? Who are some potential ally organizations? So organizations that work on that particular issue, could be faith groups in your community, that sort of thing. What tactics will you use? And you can think about that in terms of what would be effective, what would get attention, what do you already have skills in that you can use. So for example, maybe you've got some great writers, so you want to write some op-eds and LTEs. And what roles do you need to fill? So campaigns take a lot of people power. So what roles are you going to need in order to pull this off? And number 8, your communication strategy. So what do you want the messaging of this campaign to be? How do you distill this down into something that's digestible for everybody? How do you want to communicate about the work that you're doing? And your timeline, setting some benchmarks for your success and what the overall timeline of the campaign looks like, and next steps. And we'll come back at the end to talk a little bit more about that as well. So, at your tables, and remember, this is for practice. No, you're not going to be held legally bound to these campaigns right now. But I want to get you in the habit of thinking like a campaign planner and starting to put this together so that we can keep on refining it after this convening. So I'm going to have you guys break into groups of, I don't know, between 5 and 10-ish people or so. Find a little corner, clump yourselves in your seats, whatever you want to do. And I'm going to hand out these campaign planning worksheets. And I will kind of be milling about. So if you've got questions that you want to ask, then we can pop in and help you plan a little bit. So break away, and I'll come around and hand out these worksheets. Oh, and then sorry, I forgot to say, we'll do 15 minutes. 15 minutes for this, and then we'll come back and wrap up at 11:55.
I'd like to listen to the issues.
Communicate.
Should we have one per group? Thank you.
But I'm just saying.
No, I think a better
Planning without
Okay, I think an easier way to do this is one person per group come grab a worksheet from us. I got you. Yes.
They're in there.
I also already mentioned that we have the planning materials up, so you can access this on your phones or your laptops as well. We'll keep this up on the screen over here.
Any more worksheets?
Here we go. There's also, I forgot to mention, you can also get them up on the
It's not a business. They're provide outside of those, if you're
We're gonna give folks 8 more minutes to wrap up their plan, and then we're gonna do some discussion. Obviously, it's not a permanent wrap up. You can carry on later, but 8 more minutes.
How can you be a citizen and can't vote? I remember Europe was one country. That's a theory. You didn't go with that.
That's what I figured. I'm like, there's no way you guys are doing this. Yeah. So you should get a lot more. Yeah. Yeah. I know. Politics, right? Public education. What is I'm trying to get people to understand that administration always trying to be involved in this stuff is not understanding
They want to break away. Chip element. Yeah, because they have no money. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 36. I like that. They That's not beer, is it? No, it's iced tea.
seconds to wrap up your conversations, and then we're gonna come back together as a group.
Yeah, I'll try to fix that
All right, that's 10 more seconds.
Oh, okay, that's here. You said the last part.
All right, if you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Yay! Oh my gosh, thank you everybody so much for just diving into that and just being ready to go and to start planning. How did that go for everybody? Thumbs down, so thumb scale. So terrible, I hated it. This was great. This is it. Okay, so thumbs up. That's great. I'll take it. Not enough time. It's okay. We're going to talk about next steps. So did anybody talk about anything in your group that you thought was like a really cool idea, or a question that you guys were that was like continually coming up that you want to share?
A cool idea is to monitor work sites for ICE people.
Monitor work sites for ICE. Love that. Love that. And I imagine that a lot of your communities have websites or social media accounts that they're using to report that too. Yeah.
Our issue is keeping the federal government out of our education system, K through college.
Keeping the federal government out of the education system, kindergarten through college. That's great. Did you come up with any decision makers that you wanted to target or tactic ideas?
Yes. School boards, State Board of Education, in Illinois, JV, and federal Congress, and of course, local.
Awesome. Yeah, so that was school boards, the Board of Education for the state, okay, and, sorry, the governor and, what was that? Congress, yes.
Elected congressional representative.
Awesome, awesome. That's a great idea. Any other ideas? Come up, yeah, over here.
Oh, we had a couple, but one was an anti-vote buying law, like trying to copy and paste what Wisconsin had.
Oh, love that.
Try to prevent Elon Musk from, like paying people to show up to the polls.
Yeah, so that was an anti-vote buying law, so that modeled after a law that Wisconsin passed to prevent somebody like Elon Musk from coming in and buying a bunch of votes, because that was bonkers. So I love that idea. Did you have one?
Yeah, we did stop the privatization of postal service.
Stop the privatization of the postal service.
They can't hear me.
Can you guys hear me when I talk into the mic, or do I need to talk louder?
No, they can't hear them.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna pass the mic around. We'll do a couple more ideas, and then I'll... Yeah, got it. Any other ideas? I think I saw a couple hands, but I lost them.
It was stop privatization of everything. Stop privatization of everything, including education, post office, everything.
Yes. Love that. Love that. Did you come up with any tactic ideas or decision makers for that?
I didn't.
Any tactic ideas or people you want to target? Didn't get that far? That's okay. That's okay. I got a hand over here. I'm gonna scoop.
Well, we started with the idea of safety of visitors and how that had to do with people coming into town for abortions and things like that, and how eventually what that could lead to is them actually looking at restricting whether or not we could have our own vaccines and things like that in the state. And we decided that that would actually be something that we wanted to prevent them being able to limit what we could do with our bodies in our state. And we decided that that was something that we wanted to limit. And we talked about how we would want to put together legislation for that and how we would have to go through the legislature and get the medical community behind us, and how we would go that way to do it.
That's really, really smart. Thank you for sharing. Here.
Hi everyone. So one issue that we're trying to solve is there's a resolutions project by Simon Roseberg and Copian Chronicles. They put out this resolution that essentially is promoting the separation of powers and just the defense of democracy. So, yeah. The plan essentially is to use local groups to harness power to continue to try to just build that coalition together and just try to get other states to go along with it and essentially set aside funds to get activists to be able to execute on this. There are different localities that obviously have different needs and resources, so I think the main goal with our group is to try and get just kind of the small regular pieces happen first, whatever is reasonable for each locality and region. Just look at this. So, and then, sorry, so so the target is really just it really depends on each locality. There's a number in front of our group in Rockford, so it's really challenging because they're on the west side currently, so it's really specific to each church. So, but really, one of the first steps we discussed was trying to research different bylaws and groups to see who has sort of power of influence in these regions to go against this on the agenda and just get some better paperwork, dates that we need to get a better understanding on. Get folks such as city council members involved in local budget workers as well.
Yeah, that's a great example that you don't have to be subject matter experts, to create your plan. You can find people who are.
Hi, thank you so much. So our group was really trying to think through two different approaches, one of which was trying to hold those working on behalf of others allegedly to prevent them from masking, and also ensuring that they are being held accountable in terms of badge presentation, and then executing the processes in a way that is legal, that is non-violent, and that follows a specific process, as opposed to what is happening right now. The other thing that obviously comes, I think, into play with the larger those processes is enabling the conditions for those types of arrests to take place, and trying to figure out how to unthink that, rework that, and create and enable conditions that are not going to lead to mass kidnappings. And so part of this is disinformation and the ways that is being circulated in our communities, trying to think through, not limiting the distance, but reducing the distance in terms of good immigrants and that larger conversation and the legal way to immigrate. Putting humanity, decency, integrity back into standing up for folks who are of these household status, who are documented, who are undocumented, whatever it might be, and then trying to enable and mobilize various community organizations, the experts, as Jacob was saying, who may be able to fast track communications to take more folks citizen and therefore a more active citizen.
Identifying those allies, love that. Let's do one more.
We identified at least two issues that we'd like to work on. One is we're having difficulty recruiting candidates for local offices. In our local election, we couldn't have a primary, we had to have a caucus because we just couldn't recruit people. And all politics is local, so we have to start locally. And we have a couple of ideas how to recruit people locally. One is to find out who are most vocal at school board meetings and other meetings like that, see who's active on Facebook and communicate with them and try to recruit them. We are active this year. Think about the term finding proteges, finding people like us and recruiting them. So that's one issue. The other one, we think we would like to leverage, Trump is underwater right now, and we'd like to leverage the animus, the dislike for Trump into the 2026 midterms. How do we do that? And one way to do that, we're finding and looking at others who are doing it, is if you look at the Republicans' Facebook pages, and they're saying how wonderful they are, and they're saving money for this, and they're making America great again. You read the comments, and they are 90% negative. They are people like us saying, you're not going to make America great by getting rid of health care. You're not going to make America great by getting rid of immigrants and arresting people without warrants. So think about communication on social media to counter their propaganda. Don't let their propaganda rise to the top. Counteract their propaganda at every step.
There's some really good ideas. You all are really smart. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about some next steps before we wrap up here. So, what do we do with all of these different ideas? How do we narrow things down? How do we actually create a plan as a state? So, I know that a lot of this you're going to be talking about over the course of the day and after the convening. But the first thing you want to think about, or one thing you want to think about, is developing a process for indivisible groups across the state to formally come together on this campaign, whittle it down, and make it official, to fill in the blanks and actually put together your actual official plan. And the benchmark that we usually think about in terms of is about 80% of groups being on board with this, to give you a good number that's representative of the state and represents a lot of buy-in and alignment on the overall plan. And then you can choose, and after you do that, after you know how you're going to make these decisions, then you can start to think about what are the issues, what are the goals that we want to work on together, how do we narrow this down, or how do we split up the work so that we can achieve multiple goals at the same time. And then you can create your campaign teams. So this might be, some states split things up based on issue area, for example. So they might have a team that works on healthcare, another team that works on immigration issues, another team that works on LGBTQ rights, things like that. So you could structure it that way. You could also structure it by state and local and federal work, and have people who are kind of looking and supporting local groups in those areas of work. Lots of different ways that you can do it, but you come together and kind of make those decisions, those process decisions so you can make your plan and start to implement it. I also wanted to flag a website for you called bluestatedefiance.org/blueprint, where we've got a lot of the information that I had talked about. I actually wrote most of these materials, so has a lot of the information, a lot of the examples of blue state defiance, and things that states can do to defy Trump, written down in various materials for you that you can access on this website. Definitely recommend that you check that out after the convening. I think that's it from us. Thank you all so much for diving into this. I know that you're going to come up with a really great plan, and we're excited to be here for the rest of the convening with you all. Yeah, you have a burning question?
Are the ideas that were just presented going to be summarized and published so we can have something to go back to?
Oh yeah, if everybody could bring your worksheets back to me, and if you want to take pictures of them before you do that, or if you want to email pictures of them instead, my email is just katie@indivisible.org, and I'll make sure that they get to the Indivisible Illinois board. Great question. All right, thank you everybody so much.
Right, let's give it up for Katie and Al. Okay, next we are going to hear from our coalition partner panel. So we're going to get that started in a moment, and we'll just have a bit of a transition. But I do want to give a shout out to all the volunteers that helped to make this event and put it together. If you've been a volunteer over the last few days to help put this event together, you can stand up, raise your hand. If you've helped with setting up the room, video, you helped with some of the other events that we're doing around this. If you could just raise your hand, please give them all a round of applause.
It's okay.
You can turn that one on at the bottom. That one, you're going to turn on here. You can turn both on. See, that one is just at the bottom.
You can plug it out.
That way, All right, everyone. Thank you all for giving us a moment there. So you just heard from the Defiance panel. We will continue that conversation throughout the day. You're going to hear from our coalition partner panel very shortly. They're going to bring up some of the same issues. We also are going to have the regional workshop, which is going to take place directly after this, where we're going to be able to speak within specific geographical regions about how we use a lot of those things that you came up with during that planning session within your specific region. So we'll discuss that for about an hour directly after this panel. You're going to hear about what our coalition partners are doing as well and how we can partner with them on some of these strong initiatives. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our panel. We've got three fantastic members who work on policy all across the state. We've got Ed Yanka from the ACLU, who is the spokesperson for the from the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. And we got Kate Caldwell. She is with the Illinois Environmental Council. So these organizations are doing great work all across the state, and we're going to speak about what their priorities are over the next 2 years, 2025 and 2026, and how all of our groups across the state can work along with them. So we're going to start things off with Fred. It's a very timely presentation that Fred's going to give, especially with everything that we've seen from the administration, especially over the last two days. I'm sure you all have seen the birthright citizenship decision and some of the other decisions that have come down from the Supreme Court. So we're very interested in just hearing about what the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights is working on and how we can partner with them. Right?
Okay. Thank you, Patrick. Hello, everyone. All right. I don't know why I'm up here, because there's absolutely nothing going on in immigration these days. I'm just lounging around my office, watching cat videos, eating chocolate. You know, nothing's going on. No, seriously, it seems like we're getting punched in the face on a weekly, if not daily basis. So I wanted to spend a bit of time just gathering a lay of the land here. So I have a few slides. I'm not going to go into super depth about all of them, but I think this will give you some idea of what we're up against these days. So this first slide is a catalog of all of the different ways in which this regime is trying to, in the words of one commentator, illegalize people who are in the United States who may have some form of legal protection or status. So as you can see here, there are a number of people who were granted temporary protected status because it's too dangerous to deport them, and yet this administration wants to do that. In at least one case for Venezuela, the Supreme Court stepped in and is allowing the administration to do this. Terminating temporary protected status is going to affect about 350 to 400,000 people across the country. Also, there were hundreds of thousands of people who were allowed to come to the United States under a variety of circumstances. Some of them were screened outside the United States and then allowed in to pursue asylum cases. Many of these people are also losing their parole, losing their work permits, and losing their protection, and are now vulnerable to deportation. We've seen students, people here on student visas, and in some cases even green card holding student activists like Mahmoud Khalil, who are now being specifically targeted by this administration. And then to cap it all off, even many people who are U.S. citizens under the 14th Amendment may, in a matter of a month or so, no longer be recognized as U.S. citizens. Thank you, Amy Coney Barrett, and your 5 colleagues on the Supreme Court. So oddly enough, the one thing that we were most anticipating and most concerned about has not happened yet. That's DACA. DACA still exists. And so about 700,000 to 800,000 people who have DACA still have it, can still renew it, are still able to work. Unfortunately, new people who qualify are not able to access DACA. And we're actually just kind of waiting for the next shoe to drop here. So, but yeah, all told, over 1 million people who have some form of legal protection are now, before this administration, are now going to be vulnerable to deportation on top of everybody else who was lacking protection. So, next slide here. We've also seen this administration try to cut corners and short circuit ordinary legal procedures. So one really important thing that's happened is what's called expedited removal, which had only been used at the border and only for people who were here for less than 2 weeks. Now this extends all across the country to anybody who can show that they've been here for more than 2 years after entering the country without authorization. So many of the arrests that we're seeing at courthouses or at ICE check-ins, this is expedited removal. These folks are being denied the opportunity to go to court and make their case, unless they scream bloody murder that they're going to get persecuted in their home country. We're also seeing, in the case of the students, this rationalization that somehow the presence of these students interferes with our foreign policy. Thank you, Marco Rubio. We've seen the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act from 1798. None of us in this room were around back in 1798, but somehow
I was.
I also remember when Ed had hair. So that I think is an indication of my age as well. This old law is being dusted off to purportedly to deport the worst of the worst, but of course, as we've seen in the case of Kilmar Greco Garcia, that's not the case. We're also seeing these notices that Homeland Security is putting out, and ads on the radio and TV saying, hey, if you're not here legally, you ought to leave. And by the way, we will even pay for the privilege of your leaving. We'll pay your airfare, and at the end of it all, we'll cough up $1,000 stipend. So that's happening. Completely unprecedented. And the last thing, speaking of the Supreme Court, now at least for now, it is legal for the United States to deport people to a third country, like El Salvador, or South Sudan, or Djibouti, with very limited opportunity to show that, hey, my life might be in danger if I get deported to South Sudan, or Libya, or El Salvador, but this is being allowed to happen. Next slide. Okay. This administration is also also weaponizing various measures by which it collects data. So, for instance, we now have a memorandum of understanding between ICE and the IRS, where ICE can ask the IRS to confirm someone's address based on their tax returns. So that's really going to encourage people to file their tax returns, right? Yeah. So similarly, we're seeing now, there have now been reports of Homeland Security trying to glom onto information that states turn over to the federal government regarding Medicaid enrollment. So yeah, that's going to encourage people to sign up for medical assistance, right? And then we're also seeing recent reports of ICE submitting FOIA requests to the Chicago Police Department, or trying to get information about our people who applied for municipal IDs in Chicago, and also trying to get access to Illinois State Police gang databases in order to just hoover up all this information to identify people for deportation. And then on top of all this, people are being asked to comply with this registration requirement basically to report themselves to the federal government under threat of criminal penalties. So again, these are the lengths that this administration is going to. Next slide. Okay. The last thing I want to cover here, this last bucket, is obviously on top of all this, we're seeing just a real intensification of enforcement activity. We've seen concentrated operations in specific areas. Back in January, even before the inauguration, we saw a massive concentration of ICE activity in the Chicago area. A few weekends ago, we saw a massive concentration in Los Angeles, and raids at car washes and day labor sites and fields and lots of other places where ICE may be able to pick up undocumented people. We've seen any number of other federal agents get dragooned into immigration enforcement, DEA, ATF, the Marshal Service, Bureau of Prisons, IRS investigators, and now as we saw in LA, the deployment of the nationalization and deployment of the National Guard and even the Marines in LA, supposedly to keep the peace. I understand those Guard troops and Marines are not doing much of anything because LA was already kind of peaceful, and so their presence is really superfluous. We've seen ICE enter into a whole spate of agreements with local and state police departments in other states, to again, be a force multiplier in their deportation efforts. I should add here, that crap is barred in Illinois. Thanks to a law that we passed back in 2019. So we're not going to see that. Unfortunately, what we may still see is raids at so-called sensitive locations, churches, schools, work sites, courthouses. The previous guardrails against those kinds of operations have since been removed. In fact, it was removed on maybe not on day one, but on day two. So all of those locations are now fair game. And then, I mentioned earlier, there are now ICE arrests at courthouses. People are now being sent, short notice alerts saying, "Hey, show up at this location, on this day or this day, and if you don't, you're violating the terms of your supervision or your monitoring." And when people show up, they get arrested. So that's been happening here in Chicago. That's that's been keeping us up late at night over the past few weeks or so. And the final thing to note here is that the proliferation of masking and other kinds of really rough tactics. People being tackled, people being brought to the ground, windshields being broken when people are stopped in their cars, and then of course what seems to be a now uniform policy that ICE agents are going to be masked and camouflaged, which of course denies any kind of accountability for any of this behavior. So how are we responding to all of this, which I think is what Patrick wanted me to focus on in the first place. Next slide here. Okay, so this is what we're doing. First off, we have been doing lots and lots of Know Your Rights education. Many of you probably were on the webinar that we organized back in
February.
It was February. Oh my God, it's that long ago. Okay. Yeah, 1,000 people, participated in that webinar, and we've been holding webinars and presentations and trainings, community events, trying to get the word out regarding what rights people still have under the U.S. Constitution, particularly when they're confronted with an ICE agent at their door or in their car or in a public space or at their work sites. But then also informing people how to prepare in the event how to prepare for the possibility that they could face arrest, and also what they can do, what they can do if in the event that they are arrested. So we've also been developing a really strong network, our family support network, that has a hotline. Unfortunately, I didn't bring cards or placards with the hotline number, 855-435-7693. Should have put it on the slide as well. 855-435-7693, and I'll repeat it as many times as necessary. So this is a live answer hotline where that's 855-435-7693. One more time. 855-435-7693. I'll say it as many times as necessary. So this is a hotline that's staffed, that's now staffed and live answered most hours of the day. Maybe not at 2 in the morning, but most hours of the day. It's also staffed in 9 languages, and this connects people up with operators who can relay information about ICE sightings, ICE raids as they're happening, but also connect people with legal resources, with community services, other kinds of benefits that may be available to them. And as I mentioned, one of the key pieces added onto this is our rapid response network. We have 24 rapid response teams throughout the state, including one here in Champaign, that when informed by information from the hotline or other sources, we can go out, investigate, verify that something happened, speak with witnesses, try to document as best as we can, and also work with people, family members and others who are left behind, and try to connect them up with support services. So that is also in place now. I would also note too that part of our response is also trying to fight off bad legislation. We're fairly fortunate here in Illinois that we have other ways of bottling up unfriendly legislation. Unfortunately, that's not always the case, particularly on the federal level. And I do want to take a minute to mention the big beautiful bill, which we call the big bullshit bill. That's now working its way through Congress. In fact, the Senate might start its vote of Obama as early as this afternoon. Congress is complicit in all of this. In fact, not only is it complicit, it wants to provide massive amounts of additional funding for all this crap, and to the tune of $126 billion over the next several years, including $45 billion just for immigration detention. Jailing people, tearing them away from their communities, and keeping them in really horrible conditions in mostly private prisons. These kind of really inhumane warehouses that are now proliferating. So I think we're fortunate in that Senator Durbin and Senator Duckworth are almost certainly going to oppose this. But even if the Senate passes this, the bill is going to need to go back to the House for concurrence. So this is going to be our opportunity to put in calls, put in messages to our House members to say, don't vote for this thing. I think most members of the Illinois delegation are going to be good, but I think I mentioned earlier about the 3 outliers, throughout the state, who I'd like to think are not complete lost causes, though I suspect at least one of them, is, and probably the other 2 are. Let's see. 2 other things to note here. One is congressional oversight. So even though the Democrats are in the minority in both chambers, they do have oversight authority. love seeing, watching videos of Congresswoman Dylan Ramirez just nailing Krispy Noem, either in the hallways of the House office buildings or in congressional hearings. So she's going to be playing a role. Trudy Garcia is going to be playing a role. Roger Krishnamurti is going to be playing a role. They're all on relevant communities with respect to immigration operations. We need to make sure that as is Senator Durbin and Senator Duckworth. So we need to make sure that they are doing their job as well. And then the last thing I'm going to mention is local and state level advocacy. We can do our part to try to pass local policies and state policies. We already have a very strong set of state laws in place, including the Trust Act, the Illinois Forward Act. We just this past spring, we passed a Safe Schools bill that should restrict ICE raids at schools. When Governor Pritzker signs this, and I'm saying when, not if, schools will need to craft policies on how they're going to respond if ICE shows up at their doors. So that's going to involve lots of local advocacy among schools and school districts. Keep an eye out for that. And there may be other things that we may be able to do on the state level that are going to be much more protective. So looking forward to working with all of you on getting that done. And
Thank you, Fred. You're doing fantastic work at the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant Refugee Rights. We'll definitely be in touch with how all of our groups, we've got group leaders from all across the state, how we can partner with you on many of these initiatives. So next, I would like to introduce Kate Caldwell from the Illinois Environmental Council. Kate is the Executive Policy Director. I'd like to, Kate, you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at the Illinois Environmental Council.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Can you all hear me okay at this level?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I am Kate Caldwell. I'm a Senior Policy Manager at the Illinois Environmental Council, also known as IEC. Since 1975, we are basically the heart, the backbone of advocating for environmental policy across the state. Specifically, my role, I manage our state to federal partnerships. This is something that we are building out that's kind of new in this space. So I am coming in with the responsibility of holding our state lawmakers accountable at the state capitol in Springfield, but also making sure that we have great relationships with our congressional delegation as well. So a lot of our advocacy is stretched across 6 different issue areas. We work on transportation, we work on agriculture, conservation, zero waste, clean water, clean energy. But specifically, I kind of want to talk to you all about the work that we are doing to kind of, build up our federal defense. And so, like it was previously mentioned, also, I don't know if you all are watching, but Senate Republicans actually did overnight release a new version of the budget reconciliation text. They probably are voting right now as I am speaking, but they are expected to vote on that, and then it does have to go back to the House. It has to go through concurrence, but concurrence will probably look a little differently because everyone won't be in the room, all voices won't be heard. And that's something that I kind of want to touch on is right now we're in a state where we have no idea what's going on because we are out of those rooms, right? We are not being informed. We don't have, the educational part of, how these policies are affecting us, here on the ground and how these policies are affecting our state. And so part of what IEC does is we make sure that we can get in the room. Part of what I do with my work is making sure that I'm having those conversations with our congressionals and understanding what's at stake, but also letting them know that you are voting against not only a bill, but you are voting against policies that are affecting the very people that you represent. So this is no longer a black or white issue. This is no longer a Democratic or Republican issue. This is, you are going against the very people that put you in office to protect them. And so what we are seeing with this budget reconciliation bill, it's scary because the main people that we are seeing that are going against it, or the main people that we're seeing are going against the protections and the provisions that we need, they are the main ones that are kind of shooting themselves in the foot a little bit.
Something else that I want to speak about is the power that we hold within the state. And I want to touch on that because we've seen how state policy can actually, give us power. Something that, IEC was a part of was CETA, and that passed in 2021. And so I want to speak to that point because when the federal government is failing, this is the opportunity for the state of Illinois, for different states to step up. Are you going to sit aside? Are you going to, stay back and just, allow these things to happen? Or are you going to reorganize? Are you going to strategize? Are you going to coalition build? And are you going to then expand the current state policies that we currently have? I'm going to be honest with you. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the environmental space, it looks really bad, right? You have permitting processes, you have different streamlining things that, community voices are not being heard. I don't know about y'all, but it gets real hot in a suit in 100-degree weather. Climate change is very real. No one wants to sit and drink dirty water. No one wants to breathe, unclean air. But I say all of that to say, yes, the federal government is doing horrible things, right? But thankfully, we are in a space where we have a blue state, where we have lawmakers that we can actually have conversations with and say, hey, I understand that this administration is doing this. I understand that this administration is harming us in this way. However, can we look at the current laws and can we look at the current policies that we have at the state level and see how we can protect those from executive orders? See how we can expand those initiatives, right? Looking at, our legacy, looking at children. I mean, I'm probably younger than most of y'all in the room, but still, looking at, what we're leaving behind. How are we leaving our planet? How are we leaving our earth? So I don't want to harp too much on the negatives that, the federal government is doing because we recognize that, right? We are seeing the news, right? Every day I turn around, every morning I wake up, it's, something different that is hard for me to track. But the one thing that we can do is we can use our power and we can use our voice. We can community build, we can connect with each other, reach out to the Illinois Environmental Council. If there's something that's happening downstate, central Illinois, Chicago, and you're like, hey, I don't have much faith left in the federal government, but I have faith in the people that are around me, and I care about my planet, I care about the environment, so I'm gonna reach out to you and let's see what we can do. Let's take advantage of what we can do. So let's connect with our local leaders, let's connect with our state leaders, right? It's gonna be a rough 4 years. I'm not telling you that it's about to be peaches and cream, because it's not, right? But I am saying is that sitting in this room, look to your left and look to your right, I guarantee you there's something that you can connect with one another that you're concerned about. So take that anger that you have, that frustration that you have, take this big bullshit of a bill and do something about it, right? Utilize your resources, utilize the people at this table, right? It's scary. It's a long road ahead of you, but I strongly believe, like, if you are passionate about something, you have a purpose and use that purpose. And so I'm just going to close with, there are a lot of federal policies that, will shape, the future, right? There are a lot of things that we feel like maybe can't be undone. There are a lot of, there's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, they're even trying to sell off our public lands. So I would say, use this anger, fuel it to do something greater. Don't give up, don't quit. This is what they want you to do, right? This is what politics is. They want you to feel like you're powerless. They want you to feel like, there's no hope left. They want you to, just stop calling. But no, continuously contact your lawmakers. Continuously contact your neighbors. You have to become your own scientist. Do it. If you have to go outside every day with the air monitor and track every day and every night, what's changing, do it. If you have to test your water, do it, right? And it's not easy, it's not, but this is the pivotal point. This is going to distinguish between who really cares about their environment, who really cares about their future, and who's just gonna sit aside. So with that being said, federal government, maybe it's not in the state that we want it to be. We don't know what the future is. We know that we're kind of like on a downhill, but at the same time, we do have a state that we can trust, and we do have state lawmakers that we can believe in, and also at the local level. So it's about accountability. It's about coalition building. It's about bringing your community together, and actually like being involved in the change that you truly want to see. So I know IEC is here as a resource. ACLU is here as a resource as well. Utilize your network, utilize your connections, and yeah, that's all I have, y'all. But it's rough, but we got this.
Thank you, Kate.
And I know that there are cards going around. We're going to have a little time for Q&A for the panel as a whole. So if you do have a question and you didn't get a card already, raise your hand, and these cards are coming around the room for questions when we get to the Q&A period. I'd next like to introduce Ed Yanka. Ed is the American Civil Liberties Union Illinois spokesperson. And we'll let Ed speak a little bit about himself and the work with the ACLU.
Great, thank you, Patrick. It's really a pleasure to be here this afternoon, and it's really great to be back in Champaign. Down? Okay. Not the first time.
Same.
I was thinking as I was driving down this morning, I was in Champaign-Urbana in the fall of 1980. I am the oldest person up here. So, and I remember getting up and dragging myself to class on the morning after Ronald Reagan was elected president and thinking it was the end of the earth. Live long enough, you'll see everything. But what I say that in ways because I was really not prepared for that moment, but we were prepared for this one. They gave us the playbook in Project 2025. And last year, the ACLU, with our national office, with affiliates, with partners across the country, prepared for this moment and what we would face. And one of the things that we understood, one of the things that we knew, was that the authoritarian impulses that Donald Trump presented and demonstrated during his first term in office would be unchecked in this one. And I want to just digress for just a moment on that because I think there's an interesting thing that's happening across the country, and especially sort of in the media narrative around these authoritarian impulses, which is sort of three things, which is either one, acting as an authoritarian is simply portrayed as being strong. Or number two, you hear these excuses that, well, he doesn't really mean it. He's just playing at it like it's professional wrestling or reality television. And then the third thing you hear is, of course, that this is just the cover to his actions, which really are enriching himself and his family and his friends. And the corruption's right out there in front of us. Yeah. But the truth is these authoritarian impulses are real, they are cruel, and they are visiting harm on millions of people across the country. And so we prepared in the time leading up to the election and leading up to the inauguration in thinking about how we would help arrest, stop, do harm reduction wherever we could. And the first thing, because we're the ACLU, is we developed legal strategies. So as of yesterday, I think I have this right now, we have filed 65 different legal actions in the last 5 months against the Trump administration and the actions they've taken since he's resumed office on January 1st of 2025. I'll get to that. And in 38 of those instances, we have gotten some sort of preliminary or beginning relief from the court. So in more than half of the times that we have filed cases, we have gotten a court to agree that what the president has done and what his administration is doing is unlawful or unconstitutional. So, as you know, yesterday the Supreme Court struck down or limited the ability of district courts to engage in nationwide injunctions. And the reason that I said 65 cases is because a couple of hours after that ruling came out, the ACLU, along with a number of partners, filed a nationwide class action lawsuit against the Birthright Citizens. reality is that we are going to continue to fight, even if we have to work more strategically, even if we have to work harder at the cases that we do, even if they have to be larger, take longer, do more, look at whatever we can. We are ready and stand ready to fight in every single district across this country if we have to resist this onslaught of cruelty against people. And, you know, as you know, part of this is just targeted and aimed at people that Donald Trump just doesn't like and just doesn't recognize as being worth the value that he is. And I have to say that, you know, when I say that, sometimes people will say, well, you know, how can you really say that? But just think about it for a second. Just think about this. We know Donald Trump believes in due process. Because he used a hell of a lot of it. He used a hell of a lot of it for himself. Imagine if he had been arrested after being called into an emergency court session the way Fred described that it is happening to immigrants today. So what we know is whether or not it's immigrants and newcomers, whether or not it's people that he thinks are less because of the color of their skin or their gender or their gender identity or their sexual orientation or because, you know, any of those reasons, we know that these are the people that he is going to visit this cruelty on. And we can stand in the breach and be there in this moment to be there on behalf of those folks in courts and to reduce this harm to the greatest degree we can. Here's the second part of the legal action I just want to mention, which is a little bit of a departure for the ACLU, but one that I'm really proud of over these last 5 months, is we've begun to really look at the way in which they're using funding and government revenue or government grants in order to change programs that they just disagree with. And I want to point to one area where, you know, we in Illinois have actually joined in a national lawsuit to stop the dismantling of the Head Start program across the country. Head Start may be the most successful government program in the history of the United States of America, and Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Donald Trump would take it away tomorrow because they think it's too woke. I don't know what woke is, but if woke is helping kids to read, I'm for it. But as we do these things, here's the second element of what we've been thinking about and specifically thinking about with my colleagues in Illinois. As Fred mentioned, and frankly, in large measure on the immigration side due to the work that Fred and ICER has done over the last years, we have great protections in place in Illinois around immigration, around the involvement of law enforcement in immigration enforcement, around detention policies, around other things. We have incredible protections for the LGBTQ community, including specific protections for transgender and non-binary folks and for gender-affirming care. And we have important protections around school curricula and around freedom, academic freedom in Illinois. We need to, A, look at those and figure out where we need to fill in the gaps. Fred mentioned one in the school policy this year where they did a good job of identifying one more step we need to take. We need to look at what else we need to do in Illinois and put those protections in place. But here's the second thing. We have to make sure that they're enforced all across Illinois. And that's where all of you come in. Because none of us up here can be everywhere. But you are. And we need to know what's happening on the ground in places across the country and what those violations, not just of constitutional policy, but of state policy looks like. Let me give you one example from the last couple weeks, and I don't know if there's anybody here from Jefferson County. Okay. Last year, the sheriff of Jefferson County led an effort to raise funds to build, and I am not making this up, a 7-foot tall, more than 1-ton monument that had a Protestant version of the Ten Commandments on it, and he placed it in the lobby of the courthouse. And he did so, my favorite part about this, he did so because he believed, and he said this publicly, that Donald Trump would want that monument there. Donald Trump, famous follower of the Ten Commandments.
He knows the Ten Commandments as well as he knows the Constitution.
Right. Thank you. I'm going to steal that line. But the other part of it is that he said to the people who helped fund it, he said, hey, you know what? If the end times comes, I'll help protect you. You can come in here in the courthouse with me. So 2 weeks ago, the ACLU, along with our national office and the Freedom for Religion Foundation, filed a lawsuit against the placement of this monument, which the county board had thought might be a problem in the library, so they just moved it out onto the lawn right where the people enter the courthouse. Last Monday night, the county board voted to remove the monument altogether. Diminution of local news across the state, it might have taken us 2 years to figure that out if a whole bunch of people in Jefferson County hadn't reached out to us in the first instance. And so, that is a place not only of having these protections, but enforcing them where people at the local level can make a difference. I'm gonna stop in just a moment, but I want to say one last thing. There is now going to be enormous pressure on folks at the local level to curb or to change or to bend their policies to more align themselves with the Trump administration through funding. As we saw yesterday, apparently now the president selects the president of the University of Virginia. As we see this play out, we need to be affirmative in school boards, in library boards, in college, in the boards of community colleges to talk about the kind of educational policies, the kind of books and curricula, the kinds of things that we want. We don't have to wait for something to happen to go and use the public comment section in order to talk about the kinds of policies we want at that local level. We are always willing to help with people, with talking points, with information, with ways to think about and what that public comment would look like. But that is a place where, not reaching out to a United States Senator, but literally someone who you see in the grocery store, it will make such an enormous difference. And I will close with this. I think the other thing that we can do is start thinking now about what we want as we build back from this. How can we be a beacon to the rest of the country and to others to think about the kind of state where we live in a pluralistic society where we respect the rights of everyone? That is our mission, not just fighting this, but thinking about where we go from here. And that is the work that you can do together, and we can all do together, and I'm really happy to be a part of. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we're going to move on to questions from the audience. Can we have Rebecca, Jody, and Jermaine come to the microphone?
Yeah, they want their questions back.
Oh, I can read it, that's okay.
You'll just want to make sure that it's on. If you press the button there, you got to hold it down.
And can you hear me? Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I would just like to know, and I appreciate everyone, I just want to say, we all appreciate everything you're doing. I want to say that first of all. A lot of us have been leading rallies, you know, my name is all over everything. I'm getting a little worried that bad things are going to happen to me.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I mean, can you just address that a little bit? I want to go sit down, but can you just address that?
Absolutely. I'd be lying if I said I didn't worry about the same thing. Your name's all over everything. There's video of me. Yeah. You know, the 2 points I would make about that. The first one is I worry about that. And I think it means that people are going to assess their own personal risk in different ways as to what it is they're willing to do. And I think we have to be patient with people as they're coming along in that process. I think if you're someone who is really out, I think things like knowing the contact information for whether it's the ACLU or whether it's another local legal organization or, you know, things like that is going to be, you know, really critically important. But I think the other element of this, and I'm glad you raised it in this way because I want to also turn it around. Because I think one of the things that we've seen too much of is this conversation about, oh, let's not talk about this issue because then, you know, it'll be okay. Fred will remember early on after Trump was elected, a Chicago City Council person who said, well, let's just cooperate on the really bad people because then they won't do any of the really tough raids in Chicago. Because I don't know where you grew up, but if you gave the bully your lunch money on Monday, they always skipped you on Tuesday, Wednesday. But the second element of that is I think it really does demonstrate that we're all in this together. We're all at risk. Your name may be on things. My name, I think, would probably be on a list. But the truth is we're all at risk sooner or later. Because the thing is either you comply or you're an enemy. And so I choose not to comply. And, you know, I think that the people that
I would add one piece to Ed's very eloquent response to that, and take it a step further, which is that if any of us get into trouble, I would hope we would all rally together.
Yes.
We saw this with the legal defense for Kilmar. We've seen this in any number of incidents where, you know, elected officials and others have gotten arrested for, you know, I don't know. So this is, you know, allegedly slugging an ICE agent as much as we may want to. Okay. That wasn't recorded, was it? So yeah, you know, we protect us, we defend us, and so we you know, if first sign of trouble, we need to remember we have friends everywhere, as they say on Amazon.
Am I next?
I guess I'm next. I'm Jermaine Light. I'm from Vermilion County near Danville. It's so good to see you. It's so good to see all of us here together. And so I want to say something. Can I say something real quick that doesn't have anything to do with my questions? Is that all right? Just real quick. I just want to say that we've had some small rallies in Danville, and I'm really proud of how the police have worked with us. And I think making friends with them and asking them for help with de-escalation tactics and things like that has really helped with that. And they were there for us, and we were afraid because it's a very strong red county, and they made us feel good. And I think that's good for going forward too. Some of them who took the day off to be there with us and help us. And I think some of them are also worried about rights. Well, anyway, but I was. Thank you all for being here. But Kate, my questions were for you, And I'm so happy to see that you were included in this. And I've been an environmental activist for a long time and involved with some things. So I have some concerns, and I know that the immigrant thing is of utmost importance and our own rights and all that. But the environment is more of a down the road thing, and sometimes it gets pushed down the road because we have these other emergencies come up that we have to give our attention to. But meanwhile, the Trump administration is hurting trying to hurt our environment, and I'm proud of Illinois for standing up to that as much as we can. But we're still concerned about the coal ash removal that that the Environment Council helped with, and that's been taking such a long time, even though the bill was passed in 2019 and Pritzker signed it, and it's just taken forever. So we would love to see some results with that, and we also have new concerns about carbon dioxide pipelines, and those really should be stopped. And there's a lot of bad things about those. And then another thing too is that we found that in being an activist for all of this stuff, we have found the Illinois Department of Natural Resources to be very uncooperative in a lot of our endeavors, sometimes cooperative, but only what they had to do. And they're not doing a very good job with protecting pristine ecosystems. We have another issue in Vermilion County about concerning that. And they're not even following their own policies, not protecting lands that they should be finding out what's on that land, getting biologists to work with them, and then deciding what to do with that land, but then they're putting the cart before the horse a lot of times and trying to please organizations that want to use that land for their own purposes. So I give you examples, but anyway, we want to work with you, but we don't completely know how to do that. And of course, Prairie Rivers, we work with Prairie Rivers and Network and Sierra Club a lot, so Audubon as well.
Yeah, shout out to them.
Is there anything else we can do to work with you? We would like to.
That's a good question. First, I want to say this. I want to go back to your original point of feeling like environmental protections or environmental provisions are put on the back burner. I agree with you. But I want to say this is that it shouldn't be in either or when it comes to this. It should be a comma and. And so that is something that I know my organization, IEC, we are working to make sure that we are not listing in order of importance different things that is happening in this administration, because all of them are important and all of them are equally important. And I do think sometimes when we are advocating for these policies, sometimes we are told, well, that's not a priority right now, right? But my response is, okay, well, it's a priority for your community and the people that you represent. So I think to that extent, like, yes, we have seen where civil rights or, judiciary issues are oftentimes taking more of the spotlight, but that doesn't mean that environmental impacts are not, affecting our communities. That doesn't mean that people are still dying of lung cancer. That doesn't mean that people still don't have access to clean drinking water. So I think I would challenge you all to continuously hold us accountable, and also don't accept this isn't high on the radar, so we can't talk about it right now. That's false. Secondly, to your question about what you can do, I think connecting and going back to my point about community building, because it's really important, like my colleagues have said up here, is if we don't know about it, it's hard for us to advocate for you. But that's also the reason that IEC and other organizations exist, is because we have 130 member affiliates. You actually listed all 3 of our member affiliates that we work with. So like Prairie Rivers, for example, Andrew, we connect all the time. He comes to me and he tells me like, hey, this is what's going on, or hey, there's a committee hearing today, can you testify, things of that sort. So I think it's about, one, knowledge and educating us. I'm sure some of you probably didn't even know IEC existed before I told you. So it's things like that. Working, Google, one, but also working with people that are on the ground that can, seriously have the resources to help you. And a little bit about me that I don't mind sharing with this group is I worked in the federal government. I worked for an actual Illinois congressional member of Congress. I won't say their name, But I have that expertise and I have that legislative process. I have those connections. So utilize me, utilize your resources, right? But I would just round that up to say, we can't do or we can't fix what we don't know about. And that is accountability on all of us. That's not just, oh, I'm gonna leave it up to Congress because they should know about this, right? Or I'm upset because so-and-so state lawmaker, we've been fighting for this and they don't know about it, or we've been pushing for this legislation and nothing has happened. Well, as a citizen, as a constituent of Illinois, you have the right to contact your lawmaker and say, hey, this issue is happening in my community. If you don't get a response, keep pinging them, because I guarantee you, eventually they're gonna get tired. Eventually, they're going to respond to you. Trust me, it happens. So I would say first, fix the unknown, and that unknown is, what do they not know, right? Or how can I educate them, right? But secondly, you have to activate. You have to be your own activist, right? No one is going to do it for you, especially in these times. I'm sorry, you have to be your biggest own advocate. And then also take that mindset of it's a comma and, right? Just because you feel like something is getting more attention in the spotlight, that doesn't mean your priorities aren't just as important, as equally important, because they are all affecting us at the same time. Because guess what? Climate change is real. So while we're talking about all these other policies, we're on fire. Like, so, you know, it's all equally important, but understanding that we have to educate each other, we have to do it in a respectful way, of course, but we have to bring light to the issues that we don't know about.
Thank you. We're going to bring up Rebecca now, and I think we're going to end with Candace. For everyone else that had questions, we will follow up with you with the answers to those questions. This is an ongoing relationship, so we will definitely follow up with you on those questions. So if Candace can come, and Rebecca.
Hello. I'm Rebecca. I'm from Wheaton. Shout out to my DuPage County people. Thank you for being here. I'm very honored to be among so many people that are doing great work, and the panelists included. You guys are doing great, wonderful work. So I'll try and phrase my question pretty succinctly, and I hope the answer is no. But it comes from a place of wanting to ground us all in a common reality, because misinformation hurts everybody, even if we're the ones that are spreading it and want to believe it. I've been hearing recently some theories in our circles about who might be under those masks doing the immigration raids. And I'm curious if you as professionals are hearing any or seeing any evidence about people that are not actually government employees posing as ICE, such as I've heard Proud Boys or January 6ers. And I just want to put that theory to bed if there's no evidence to it. So, thank you.
I've heard those rumors myself. I am not aware of any substantiation for that. That said, I think we're all kind of on tenterhooks given the incident in Minnesota a weekend ago. So I think there is, unfortunately, there is cause for concern. I'm aware of at least one incident actually involving a march that we organized through downtown Chicago where a person was arrested, not right at the march, but at the outskirts of the march for impersonating a police officer. So it's out there. Again, I can't, I'm not aware of any incidents of people impersonating immigration officers. But that said, now that any federal agent essentially can engage in immigration enforcement, we ourselves don't know who is behind those kerchiefs or masks or whatnot.
But then why I didn't mean to interrupt, but then why can they mask and then not give their ID or their name?
They shouldn't be able to, but
that's what I'm seeing though, on videos.
Yeah, yeah, ICE is essential. ICE is allowing, if not outright, directing them to. And I think that's going to be a matter for congressional oversight.
There are both federal statutes as well as regulations in every agency about officers needing to identify themselves unless they're in very specific circumstances undercover. That does not mean heavily armed masked men roaming around the streets of a major city without any sort of identification. And I agree with Fred. I think this is a matter for congressional oversight, and I think there'll be other challenges to this down the road.
I'm Candace Davis with Indivisible Evanston. My question is, in terms of Trump-proofing Illinois, is there an opportunity to amend the Illinois Constitution to add like the right to abortion to make it harder to change if we turn red again?
So that avenue always exists. It is an intensive, heavy, resourced, draining activity. Right now, and I'm about to offend my friends at the Guttmacher Institute, but I will, Illinois has the most protections in place in any state in the country for reproductive health care and access to reproductive health care. So I think the question is, is that the priority in terms of what we do, or are there other states and other places where those resources might go, and or other things which are a higher priority given the makeup, the nature of what we're seeing in Illinois? And so, I think that's the question. As you may know, there was a sort of a debate among organizations about doing something a year or so ago, and ultimately, I think correctly, but I understand this is not universal, and there are people who disagree, that expending, multiple millions of dollars on a campaign in Illinois to change our Constitution when the statute in the Reproductive Health Act that we adopted in 2019 is as far-reaching as anything that could be other than a constitutional amendment, I just don't think is a wise use of resources.
I mean, I hear that. I just wish Obama had done something when he could.
Understood.
All right, we want to thank our panelists. We want to thank Ed, thank Fred, and thank Kate. We're going to have them back for virtual panels, and we're definitely going to be talking with them about how we can work with them on advocacy. So we will be in touch soon. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you for making the drive. I know it was a big drive for you all back and forth. We appreciate it. So as we transition into the next panel, think about what all of these panels just spoke about. I want you to also think about what our folks from National spoke about when they spoke about Blue State Defiance. We're going to go into a regional breakout session now, where we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about both of these panels and some of the things that we heard and how we can implement these things at a region. So I'm going to hand it over to Linda, who's going to tell you about the breakout session.
Thank you, Patrick. So I'm just going to explain. So the breakout is going to be by region. I'll explain regions in a minute. And obviously, we have shared goals, right, and concerns, but by region, there could be some things that doesn't impact the rest of the state. So we thought it'd be good to get by region and have a conversation around, the issues and some goals and how to work together. We're gonna have to do that as a state also, state organization, but we thought it'd be good for regions to have some conversations. So we're going to divide you guys up, and so it'll take a little bit to move where you need to move, and we do have facilitators to help the discussion. So the first, anybody from actual Chicago, Okay, you guys are gonna be under the eave over here, so where the tables are, so that's where you'll go. And Jackie Haynes, Jackie, raise your hand. And Jess George, they're gonna facilitate the discussion. So a couple, just before I get to the next sections, a couple things to remember. So we have some nice paper to write on, and it has the sticky. You cannot stick anything to the walls. That's their rule. So you have to use windows, or if you want to put it on a table, it's just, they just do not want anything sticking to their walls at all. We couldn't get them to agree to that. So just remember that. I'll walk around when we're all set to make sure you got all the equipment you need. Okay, so that is Chicago. Then the Central Illinois, which has a lot of people here, you're gonna be in this main room. So you get to stay and you'll try to move your chairs in circles, whatever is needed. And that group is gonna be facilitated by Melanie Mills. There's Melanie sitting there, she is, okay. And Jody, who you heard before, Jody's back there somewhere. And then also Kara Kelly. So there she is. Okay. So anybody from Central Illinois, stay in this room and you'll have a good discussion. Then the Northwest Illinois Quad Cities, which we put together. It's not a big group. You guys will be in the hallway, kind of where you checked in. There's couches there, we've got chairs, and that's where you can have your discussion. And then, and that is being, let's see, here we are. Melanie Fager, where's Melanie Fager? I know there she is back there. She's going to be facilitating along with Victoria Masters, who I know is here. I don't know where she's sitting. Oh, there you are, right there. Okay, and then finally, so that's that group, and then finally we have suburban Chicago. So if you go down that hallway and there's a door which looks like it has tables, that's where we're gonna have lunch, that's where you guys will go. So you can go down the hall, past the bathrooms, go through the door, and that's where you guys are gonna be. And you will be facilitated by Candace Davis, who's right there. Bill Davis, no relation. And I don't think is Evelyn here? She's not here. Okay, so you gotta listen to the two of them. Okay, and then finally, Southern Illinois. And I don't know, there are some Southern Illinois people here. You also will be in that room. You're just gonna have to find like a different section so you don't interrupt each other. But you'll be in that other room. There should be a way to kind of separate. And for Southern Illinois, Stephanie Sabo, who I know is here, there she is. And is Nell Patrol here? There she is, over there. Okay, so they're gonna help facilitate that. So the first thing is to get into the correct rooms. You can come see me if you don't remember where you're supposed to go. And then I'll make sure you guys all have the equipment you need. Oh, what's that? Sorry, I'll be back here in an hour.
Nice to meet you. How do we get this? I guess we're shipping lunch. We're going to. Yeah.
I mean, it's every night.
Perfectly fine. Thank you. Nice to meet you too. Oh my gosh.
Oh, go ahead. I just want to get my bag.
Yes. Some familiar faces and some that I don't recognize, even where I have where I've seen people with long and urban. Sorry.
Where's Melanie?
So, okay. Where are
So, here I'll go.
Where do you wanna, I mean, we're gonna be here. We have they're gonna bring it. Yeah, they're gonna bring it. Should we be back? Right, we got, why not up here? Yeah, they're on there. Up to you. We're gonna need a mic for it. Okay, let me tell you, the thing I learned from this is okay. Let's ask for mine. All right. I miss this mic. Give us the stuff. So we're gonna stay here with the mic. Yeah. Can we bring that mic back there or not?
This, you mean the camera?
No, the mic.
The mic? You could. Back.
We're way having easel.
You're in this room, right?
Yeah. All right.
But then it's going to go to everyone in the room, so that's probably not a good
We're
idea.
gonna go, but
Because then it'll
I know,
go
but
to.
people here can't hear.
I would try to gather them.
We could go in the back. We were gonna go in the back.
Sounds good.
We still need a mic though. There's too many old people, Patrick. I've just done too many rallies where everyone's yelled at me because they can't hear.
I literally just sent something yesterday.
Like, this is like 40 years. Our downstate group, they won't be able to hear. Essentially, just forming is pretty thin. Okay. But I will send out a. Okay, you guys, either we all stand up here or we go back to the corner. We all have to sit in the front. We're not going to be like, Lutherans and sit in the back. We all sit in the front.
So
Or we don't
there's
do
an
this.
easel.
Okay? We all sit next to each
You all should be
other.
able to write on that.
Yeah, we just
Okay?
need markers for
I'm
it.
just sorry, but this is not one of those events.
Well, I have
Wait,
already
sit next to each other. Okay? I know, but we all get Come on over here, you guys Central Illinois? Okay, go out and be over here.
I say it's right in the blue line from Wicker Park to Portage Park, Edison Park.
That's a big divide.
Yeah, it's a big area, yeah. But yeah, so we are gathered here today to basically storm different areas together. So just a couple rules, and then we'll go around. It's a brainstorming, so no bad ideas. Don't talk over each other, all that good stuff. Assume positive intent. We have, let's see, about 45 minutes total, so it's going to be real fast. Especially with this many people. But the idea is basically we'll spend like 10 minutes-ish in each of these different sections, and then at the end, hopefully one or two hopefully new friends here wants to be the person to report back on what we kind of decide on here. But the main goal is for us to figure out how can we, as a region together, align on a few areas that are really important for us to prioritize, and then how can we better collaborate.
Good morning. Good morning, Central Illinois Group.
We can be louder.
There is a. Do people have handouts?
Is there room in the other room?
Okay.
Is there room in the lunchroom for
Okay.
us too?
It'd be better for us to move.
I know.
Maybe.
I get it, they're like 40 plus.
Do you want me to go look and see if we could squeeze in that other room without disturbing anybody? Yeah.
He had already told them not to use the microphone.
Okay.
So why don't we turn for our first round here? The first thing is to just talk about what are our overall kind of priorities for our different groups and different challenges we're facing. So you can interpret those in different ways, whether it's challenges in your group, or challenges that you're seeing like in the area that you're representing that you want to figure out for your group. But let's just go around and do a quick intro, like your first name, the region or group chapter that you represent, and then just a couple quick concise things about those areas, priorities and challenges.
You guys have markers, right?
No.
You don't have markers? Okay, you need markers. They have a pad. They have. So are you gonna? You're not, and you're not. Oh, it's that low. Oh. Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, I can go first, just as an example. Like I said, I'm from the Northwest Side group, so it's a large area with a lot of different types of people, as you noted. We just started in February. I think there was a group before, but they were dismantled at some point. So someone came in February, and I've really only been with the group since protest back in April. So we're growing, trying to figure it out. But we're up to like 2,500 people now, so there's a lot to figure out quickly. So a couple things that we're focused on that I think are a little bit different from what we're hearing from other groups is we're trying to target like younger people, millennials as we're calling them. So Gen Z millennial who just are not very involved in a lot of this, and so we're really focused on community building with those groups, and then also looking at parents, just given the area that we're in. So kind of two groups who have been like largely left out, I felt like, but we're hearing from a lot of people in our community who are in those groups that want an opportunity to make an impact. So so those are kind of the two things we're trying to do. We also launched this independent media site, which there were some people talking about, like telling the stories about immigrants and things like that, like humanizing what's happening with the administration. So that's a project that a group of people in our group just launched, and so we're trying to use that as a way to learn about what's happening in our community, but also get those stories out and help tell if this isn't just like some stranger, it's the people in our community and what's happening to them, who's helping them, and then what can our neighbors do to help. So those are kind of the areas that we're focused on, and then for like more traditional stuff, it's, we want to be doing some town halls as we get into like election season and stuff, and really focus on some like how do we get some of these candidates like a Kate Ghazali or Patrick, last name I'm blanking on right now, but some of these like more progressive Gen Z folks, get them out so that we can also show our people like you are being represented, and also what matters to these groups that other people in our group might not know about. But we don't really know how to start those or any of that, so that's something we're trying to solve. Probably too long, so why don't we go? Do you want to go next?
My name is Jackie Haynes. I live in East Lakeview, and our group, there is an Indivisible Lakeview Lincoln Park, which is very active, and the things we've been doing recently is making sure we have relationships with our state legislators. So we've been inviting our state senators and our state reps to talk to us and talk about what issues are important to us, and making sure that they're focusing on legislation that will improve our communities.
I don't have a group. I'm, every time I like, you're my group now. Yeah. I'm in West Garfield Park, and I don't know that there is a group that's dedicated to that area. But I'm very mobile, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, I could join a group, and but some of the things that I personally find is that. I don't, other than like the protests, and like stuff like that, I don't find the wherewithal, the impotence. I mean, there's not like a fight in Illinois. I mean, there is, but it's like we don't have any real opposition. you know, and when you need to fight, you need you need an enemy, you need an opposition. So what I end up doing is I go and do and work for some of the for Wisconsin mainly. I've done a couple things in Michigan, and then do calls, depending upon. I mean, I felt like my success of getting, the judges, both of the judges in Wisconsin, I did a lot of work with that. But when it's coming to like hometown, it's kind of like, okay, I mean, we're doing really well, which is great. So I mean, I don't. It's kind of hard to go, what can we do here in Illinois that makes a difference? Although I don't know if this has anything to do with this. I am starting a alternative Airbnb for very low cost a shelter for women who are coming to have abortions in Chicago. And then the low cost will kind of depend on what kind of funding and, because I know there is funding out there that will contribute to it. And then they'll probably do like a GoFundMe kind of thing. Unfortunately, the guy who's finishing my first floor is not really doing it fast enough.
Very important.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone knows that there is an Indivisible Chicago, which of course is home to all of us, and an Indivisible Chicago Alliance. They have a great daily action. Everyone should follow that because they do urgent actions and they notify us daily what those urgent
I do
actions
get those.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, so like kind of what to do as a person living in a blue state, and then like a homegrown mutual aid kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm Kyle from Chicago, and I'm also coming out of hibernation and looking for the group to get more connected to. The Northwest just hasn't had things that I could have done, but that I think is going to be the home group when it's there. Thank you. And sort of the things that are the priorities that I've been thinking a lot about. It's what do we, resistance is a starting point, it's not an end. And so what do we need to be in 2026, 2028, and how do we start building the foundations for that to prevent what we're living in right now from becoming normal? So what are the laws that need revoked? What are the changes in Congress? What are just the resistance to the coarsening of our public conversation and undoing the damage that Trump has done to us with how we act with each other? And then really recently it's what can we do to keep 250 years of this country from being subverted by this regime? Next year is a big deal. And how do we remind ourselves of the promise of this country, why we should be proud of our history, and how we can bring that forward and not let everything that's happening take that from us like they're trying to do.
You stole some of my comments.
So hopefully we have saving democracy.
Yeah.
Which is actually fantastic. My name is Gretchen Waterman. I am on the steering committee for a brand new chapter called Greater West Loop. There's 3 of us on the steering committee. We were just approved this week by Illinois or Chicago Alliance, and we have our second big meeting tomorrow night. So I'm going to be very short. The 2 things we're focused on right now is community outreach, because we got to grow. We're going to have our first event in September to get the community involved, let them know what we're doing, so we can get as much participation as possible. And the second most important thing, and we'll be talking about this tomorrow, is putting the calendar together to make sure that we're putting in the right action items for 26 and 28 so that we can make a difference, so that we can keep a democracy, but also make the important changes that we have to make in the next 2 election cycles. When we're talking about actionable items, it's not just resistance, it's not just saying we don't believe in this. We have to figure out how to do change, and the best way to do it is through our aggressive actions for 26 and 28.
Prioritizing it.
That's what we're prioritizing. We may change a little bit as the leadership team comes over tomorrow night and we keep going, but that's what we're gonna present and see if everyone's on board. So you got the preview.
So I guess I'll go. I'm Eric Johnson. I'm going to be part of I'm Eric Johnson. I'm going to be part of the Greater West Loop chapter as well. also part of the Southfield chapter, the IDC chapter. So I guess I would say, yeah, I think everybody's sort of hit on a lot of issues we have. I'm from Wisconsin, so canvassing in Wisconsin is a natural thing for me to do. I think I'm happy to help in elections, take people up there. We were talking with a group from Southern Illinois earlier, and they also said they want to do canvassing with their group of 3. So who do they get to canvass, right? We have a lot of people in the city of Chicago, and to your point, what do we do in the city? There's sort of there are things we could do, but in terms of easy people power, that's probably downstate. So I feel like getting people from Chicago to coordinate and travel elsewhere to help other groups sort of keep either try to flip their area or keep them blue would be great. And then within the city itself, I feel like the biggest issue is probably affordability. Just shit's expensive. So yeah, I think how to address that is so, yeah. I guess the 2 things I would say in Chicago, affordability and dealing for.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay.
I hear corruption. I think that's probably in more than one place.
I think you forgot women's rights on the list.
Coming back to it.
Huh?
Okay, I'm coming back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, did we get everything? Are we caught up? Okay.
All right, cuts to SNAP and food insecurity, how that's going to affect children.
Okay, SNAP. Okay, let's do this one.
We have a lot of higher ed in central Illinois, so I would like to bring up targeting of international students.
Okay, targeting of international students. Okay, we'll just do a couple more on this side, yes, sir.
It was part of our blast because they said, it's a lot harder to pay, call it, insurance, housing, communities. So it's just our being right now.
Is that okay, or do you want to start with that? Oh, let's get started. Okay, yes. Civics education, I've been talking about that all. Right. Civics education. Yes, one more.
One more, but it goes right back to those SNAP cuts. That is also going to affect farmers in our area.
Farmers, oh my gosh, farmers has to settle this, right?
Yeah. I mean, it gets them both ways because usually their family is going to get it on the back end, but they are invested, like they're
Crop yield.
crop yields. It's going, yes, thank you.
Okay, yes,
I think you could add the farm bill.
oh, the farm bill, can we put that together?
Yeah,
With
same
that?
thing, that's what I'm,
Yeah, the farm bill, okay. Oh, I forgot, are you checking time for us?
I was just looking at it, it's 2 o'clock.
It's 2 o'clock, okay. We can keep going, I wanna keep going for 5 more minutes. Will you take time? Thank you. Go ahead.
Recruiting of possible candidates for offices.
Oh, yeah. Candidates for office? Candidate recruitment is better. Thank you, thank you. What else? Were there some more hands? Is that good enough?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna take one more. Okay, getting impacted, okay. All right, that's the last one we're gonna do. I can't. Okay. What I wanna do next is vote on these. So what we're gonna have to do is spread these out. We cannot stick it on the wall, do not stick anything on the wall.
Can we just put them up there? Put them up there.
Right here.
Yeah, big screen right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't.
They probably don't want to stick it in the screen.
Yeah, the screen is probably hollow behind.
You can have volunteers.
You want to hold them up? Yeah. Okay. I need 4 of you. Everybody gets one die.
Yeah, I'll do my best to get on white here.
So I want you to look at this.
Look at
One die.
I'm just gonna hang on. Maybe just stick it onto your shirt. Oh, there's Nate.
Oh, yeah.
We're so damn
I don't know if I want to stick it in.
I'm all it's a little bit more three-dimensional and some of us are on others. Oh, there's
So the one I mentioned was leaving out Republicans who don't support Donald Trump. It just says leaving MAGA. So I wouldn't be representing it. Have to explain a little bit more.
Yeah. Leaving MAGA.
Leaving out Republicans who do not support Donald Trump.
So it's more about inclusion.
Right.
Yeah, rather than trying to get it back.
I said I'm one of them because there's tons of others of us that don't support Donald Trump. But if we're made to feel like, they're just MAGA Republicans, then you don't get the other support that you need. And we can use all we can get.
That's right.
Republicans, no, I'm not. But we never work with MAGA.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah,
We're gonna pick up.
Can I update it?
We're gonna come up and put dots on the top of your head.
There's a thing that's gonna get, there's one that's gonna get.
Hey, is everybody ready? Is everybody ready?
And so I just don't support
Everybody put one dot on your top issue. Go.
Bush 21.
Just because I think it's going to resonate the most. Not because I need some more.
That's a dangerous
Oh, like fringes, you know.
Thank you.
What do you want to be on? Jay, what do you want to be on?
One's Jay. I'm not voting multiple times. That one's Jay. You want women's rights? Okay. Okay. This one's Tracy. Okay. Jeff, what do you want?
Affordable housing.
Where was that? Oh, here. Okay. Jeff's getting affordable housing. Betsy, what are you going to be?
What do I want to be?
Yeah, what do you want to be?
Gosh, I don't even know what all the issues are. I'm not someone who's already voted. Take this for me so that I can.
Okay. I'll switch you. I haven't voted.
How about if I take it?
Yeah, somewhere.
Good process.
Process.
Good process.
I guess I know you're gonna go back.
Hey, Ben.
Let's stand behind Jeannie.
You already got some about. Okay. You got the.
Yeah, I'm
Alright, well, nice to see you outside of your little boxes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All of my information I've got.
Are we really supposed to stand? Are we really supposed to stand?
You got it? I don't know if she's not going to
I was probably thinking it's a profile.
Kind of squeeze by here.
Everybody's going through license issues. They're not going court issues.
Love you, but I'm not going to give you a dot.
That's okay. I didn't give myself a dot. I went for Canada.
I need to get more dots because I got too many.
You only get one today. You can choose. Oh, I already put mine. I wasn't listening to the time.
Okay, I'll tell you what, I won't bring it up, but if somebody else dares to, I will not sit down and let you know. And I mean, I don't know how to break that. I mean, it's everything. Everything that's about it with your life. Yeah.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well.
I was just going to bring up that Every Action National has Every Action, which can do a lot of things. In Indivisible, Illinois has Every Action, and their time, actually, they're gathering data from most of us and trying to get the data in, and you can actually go to competitors, and I appreciate this, you can go to Indivisible, Illinois and ask them to do a blast to an email list for your area. They can pull it by zip code. So Indivisible, Illinois can help. If your own national can help, you can get your own. Yeah, and there are other tools, like we use MailChimp to do our newsletter, but we're thinking about maybe Every Action because it gathers more data. And some people, have a lot of, some people love Facebook.
That Williamson County is rough. That's another one that's totally rough. Okay, so, all right.
I think we got
We got
three.
good stuff there?
For two, yeah, I got bill comment relation in Southern Illinois, voter registration, appeal to younger generation, and collab with like-minded organizations set up info tables.
Yeah. Do you guys have a post office in your area, satellite office?
I just want a reminder that you don't have to be tech savvy to do this. Pencil and paper still works. If
Yes.
that is the level you're at, and you want to use their spreadsheet or a Word doc at your home, that is better than not doing it. So I was trying people to say, like, we can create our own surveys. We can print it on a piece of paper or card and hand it out and select that. It may not be sophisticated, but if we're all doing our little part in each our area, then we're growing that organization and we can use that information to do it.
And how can we share with each other, and how do we collaborate so that the area information people together?
Not just a point that we asked, but I think we've gotten much better in our
I mean, I'm sure there are, but is there?
So,
We did have,
and everything.
Well, so they were really